What's up, guys? I'm Johnny Fandom, where I talk about all things fandom, such as Disney, Star Wars, Harry Potter, whatever. If you love fandom theories and discussions, then you come to the right channel because that's all I do. So make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started with today's video. Today, I'm going to be talking about Wreck-It Ralph. I just watched the movies recently, and I have so many questions. I just watched the Wreck-It Ralph movies recently, and I have so many questions. Like, if Penelope had the glitch and she couldn't leave the game with the glitch, how can she leave the game now? We see her leave the game in the second film. She still has the glitch, and we see her leave the game at the end of the first film when she goes to the wedding, when Felix marries Sergeant Tamora Jean Calhoun. So if she has the glitch and can't leave, how does she leave? Because she still had the glitch, even though the game was reset. Because it was said that once the game is reset, she wouldn't have the glitch anymore, but she still does. But yet she can leave. That doesn't make sense. Or does it? Also, we know that King Candy says that if your game is unplugged, you die if you're inside of it.
Will be put out of order for good. All my subjects will be homeless. But there's one who cannot escape because she's a glitch. When the game's plug is pulled, she'll die with it.
So what happens if there's a power outage? Do they all die? Also, if you die in your game, you regenerated. But if you're unplugged, you die. And also, if you die out of your game, you can't regenerate. A lot of this just doesn't make sense. But I think I figured out what is going on here. So let's jump right into it. First off, let's talk about Vanellope. Vanellope has a glitch because King Candy, who was actually Turbo, left his game because he was jealous of another racing game, which then he destroyed both racing games and they unplugged both and took away. He somehow snuck out of one of those games and stayed in the Power Surge lobby there without anybody noticing him before they unplugged it, so he wouldn't have quote unquote died in his game. Then when when Sugar Rush came by, Turbo snuck in there, broke into the code somehow, altered the game's memory of its players to forget about Vanellope, who is the main character of the game, because you see her picture on the side of the box, and she's the princess of Sugar Rush. She quote unquote gets the glitch and everybody loses memory, so she doesn't even remember. But she has this glitch. But then we see her fighting King Candy, and the glitch almost looks like it transfers to him, creating him to turn back into Turbo. However, the key point is here, King Candy doesn't exist in the game. King Candy tells everyone that Vanellope doesn't exist in the game, so therefore she glitches out. However, it's the other way around. Turbo is the glitch. Turbo glitches back into his regular self from the King Candy form because he doesn't belong in the game. And then when Vanellope crosses that finish line and the game resets. You see her memory chip going back and reconnecting with the entire game. And then the chest opens and everybody gets their memory back. But yet she still has the glitch. But the key point is she can leave the game. So the quote-unquote glitch that she has is not actually a glitch. She wasn't able to leave the game because we see that her memory chip, or her square thing that's connected to the game code, was separated from the entire game. King Candy didn't just erase it. Remember, he disconnected the Vanellope character from the game code itself. So that's why she couldn't leave, because she wasn't part of the game. She was just this random code that was inside the game, and the game had no idea what to do with it until the game reset. So this quote-unquote glitch power has always been there. It was there before Turbo invaded Sugar Rush. She always had that superpower. They just called it the glitch because it was happening when King Candy took over. But the reason she didn't have control over it was because her game code was separated from every other game code in the game, so it wasn't able to really control it. And then when she tried to, she eventually learned to control it, and then she has full control over it when the game is reset. And we see that this, superpower is to her advantage when the girl starts playing the game and jumps ahead in the first place. It is that superpower, basically, that, she's trailing behind a little bit, she jumps ahead immediately in the first place. So it's not a glitch. It's a special power that character has in that particular game. We see this with a bunch of other games. Every game there's characters that have their special moves. This is Vanellope's special move. It was just called the glitch because of King Candy, aka Turbo. Turbo ruined everything. Now, before we jump into the second part about this video, about what happens if the arcade loses power, does everybody die? Let's take a quick word from our sponsor, Raze Energy Drink, brought to you by Rep Sports. Raze Energy Drink is the best damn energy drink you'll ever have. I promise you. So make sure you go to repsports.com. That's REPP sports.com. Link will also be in the description down below. Best damn drink you ever have. Plus, you can get a ton of other dietary supplements. So go check them out. Use coupon code Johnny Huey and save yourself 15% off. Let's get back to the video. In the movie, we are told by King Candy that if Vanellope can't leave her game because of her glitch, which we know is not a glitch, and the game is unplugged, she will die. And we get this impression that you die if your game is unplugged by many other times throughout the films, that we see Cubert and other characters that are quote-unquote homeless video game characters because they left their games when the game got unplugged. So the first question I have is, what happens if the power goes out? Do they all just die? No. To be fair, they do have that power strip that basically is the powerhouse of the entire arcade. You could visit it as if it was like a lobby, and you can interact with other members from other video games. You can even go into other video games. It's not advisable because you could potentially break that game, as you saw Turbo do. However, that power surge, the power surge protector with all the plugs in it, even if the power were to go out, the MOV resistor will actually retain power to keep that power surge protected. That way, when the power comes back on, it doesn't blow everything apart. It's meant to resist and protect from a surge. So if the power were to go out, there was still power inside that box. It retains power. The resistor side there holds that power and would keep them all alive. They would just all have to be crammed into that power surge lobby area in order to not die. However, I highly doubt that the arcade owner leaves the games on all night. It just seems weird to have the lights on all night. I know we see it that way, but it just seems kind of odd to kind of pay for all that electricity just leaving it on all night. So if you turn the arcade games off at night, do they die? I don't think so. And to be honest, if you unplug the game, I don't think they die. And here's my reason behind that. You're telling me if you plug an arcade game and you have characters in there, and then, somebody else or another arcade owner, says, hey, I want to buy your cabinet, or you sell it, or whatever it may be, you're going to tell me you unplug that game, all those characters die, everything wipes in the arcade, you plug it in, and you can never use it again? It's a brand new No. They just think they're going to die because, to be honest, if they take the cabinet away, they don't know. They think they'll go away forever. So the thing is, Qbert wouldn't have died if they unplugged this game. Although he may have not been as popular anymore, so people probably wouldn't play his game as much anymore. I mean, we see Pac-Man, which came out around the same time as Qbert. However, Pac-Man's always been popular. People probably know who Qbert is anymore. I mean, I do. I grew up playing Qbert and Pac-Man and all that stuff anyway. But I wouldn't necessarily say they die, but just the people in that particular arcade lose sight of them and just think they die. Because it's all a matter of perception. If you're never going to see that game again, you're never going to see the characters again. So they just assume that you die, I guess. And also, King Candy, aka Turbo, probably just said that because, I mean, he may know, you don't actually die, but he may have said that to Valve just to stop Vanellope from winning the race and resetting the game, and therefore showing that he is Turbo. So all in all, it could be just a rumor that was spread throughout history of the arcade that if you're in your game when it unplugs, you die. Which is why we see the homeless characters. Now, the other question I have is, let's say Qbert became homeless, as in he left his game and lived in the lobby as a homeless dude. So now Qbert lives in the lobby. Let's say, hypothetically, Qbert left his cabinet. That cabinet got sold to another arcade or another collector, let's say. Like someone like me who was like, oh, I'm going to buy a Qbert cabinet. I go to plug that cabinet in. Qbert's no longer there. I'm going to think the cabinet's broken. I'm going to get pissed off, and I'm going to get rid of it. because Cubert left the cabinet, basically breaking the code and erasing himself from the game. Makes it so you can't survive. I mean, if Cubert stayed in his machine, he could still be being played and wouldn't be technically homeless. He could just be moved to another arcade. We don't know why his machine left. We do know why Turbo's machine left and the other machine left, because Turbo, his machine wasn't played as much anymore because of the new racing game that came out. And then he went over there and he caused havoc, creating that game to glitch. And then people complained about it. And then something happened with his other game, so they got rid of both games. If they got rid of Cubert's game just because of popularity, someone else would have bought it. Retro games are like never gonna die. People are always gonna play them. If I see a Pac-Man cabinet and I have a few quarters, I'll play it. Retro games are probably the best. There's actually a store in my town. The guy has original Donkey Kong arcade cabinet. I'll go down there and I'll play it. It's so much fun. Anyway, Cubert ruined that cabinet. If you become quote-unquote homeless because you have fear of dying when your game is unplugged, you basically just ruined that game for everybody else. All Cubert would have done is move on to a new home. Yes, he could have been put into storage and collected dust for many years and not played for another 50 years or so, but unless the cabinet itself or something programming or something glitches out and the game actually is broken, then I could see the quote-unquote characters dying. Because if the game is broken, the computer gets fried, and everything's going to be erased. Yeah, get out, go into Surge Protector, and somehow it saves you. Like, somehow the programming fault. It's very weird how it works, because the code inside your game itself locks your character in, your model, your everything, your features, everything about your character. So how the programming would actually work is you have the model of the character in like one folder, the character movements and everything else, the shade, everything of the character, and then you would have that into another file which would allow the character to basically be moving, so the controls and everything else of that character. But then also you need this other components of interaction, to interact with the characters and everything else. So there's a lot of programming involved into the games. A little simpler with the older games like Wreck-It Ralph and so on and so forth, but if you leave your game cabinet, you shouldn't be able to, in retrospect, but in this world you can. So they're doing something that's extremely impossible. Obviously it's a fantasy world and a fantasy movie, so I'll let that slide. However, if you leave your cabinet and your cabinet gets unplugged, you killed the cabinet. If you stay in your cabinet and it's unplugged for just unplugging reasons, you will not die. You could potentially leave your cabinet if something actually is wrong with the cabinet, and therefore you would die if the cabinet is going to be destroyed, and then you no longer exist within that cabinet. So did King Candy just use that as an excuse to stay King Candy? Most likely. Other characters believe it, probably from other stories. For all you know, there was a Donkey Kong, cabinet there, and they unplugged it, and maybe one of the characters came out and the other one got stuck behind, and it was just like, what happened? And they never see each other again, so they just assume that the cabinet's gone, they're gone, they died, and that's what they assume. Anyway, it's very complicated with the programming and this and that and trying to figure out what actually happens. But no, I don't think the character dies. I don't think, unplugging it will kill them. However, them leaving the game, making it homeless, does kill that cabinet, because that now program of that character is essentially erased from the cabinet. Also, with that being said, that's going to do it for today. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below your thoughts on either Vanellope, having a glitch, or leaving the game. And also comment down below, what was your favorite arcade game growing up? Or what's your favorite video game now that you play? Comment down below. I'd love to hear it. I'll see you guys next time. I'd love to hear it. I'll see you guys next time. Before we go, make sure you check out these 2 videos right here. Check out my merch store down below. Check out my Patreon page. Yes, I have a Patreon page, and there's content on there that is just for you. You can only get it if you go to Patreon. You could also get free stuff from my Patreon. So go check out my Patreon page right now. Also, hit that join button right down below here, because you also get content just for you just by hitting that button. Only if you hit that button. And finally, go check my Spotify. Link will be in the description down below. I have a podcast. There's only 2 episodes out right now, but go check it out. It's a good time. See you guys next time.